All right, right now we're going to discuss arrays and lists. Arrays versus lists. So both arrays and lists are indexed collections. They're zero indexed collections. These are ordered collections. Now you may be familiar with arrays in JavaScript, but in Java, arrays are a little different. So in Java, arrays are of fixed size once they're initially created. Once you create an array of a certain size, you cannot resize it. However, lists can be dynamically resized. The syntax for creating arrays versus lists is different. Arrays can store both primitives and reference types, but lists can only store reference types. As far as performance goes, arrays are a little faster because, well, I mean, they don't really have methods and they don't have to deal with things like boxing and resizing. So yeah, that may make the performance a little faster for arrays. And of course, arrays also have lower memory requirements than lists because of course, the object and wrapper overhead. And, and of course, you can iterate through both arrays and lists using for loops. Lists, you can also iterate with streams, but we're probably going to talk about that a little further down the line. And since you and since and since lists use reference types, they also support generics. They also have they can also be sorted, but arrays are sorted using arrays methods, arrays sort. Collections are sorted using collections sort. So let's talk about when we would use arrays versus lists. So you're going to use an array when the size is known and constant, and if performance and memory efficiency matter, if you need to store primitives and you're working with low-level data structures. That being said, this sounds good in theory, but I found in practice you're going to be using lists. Because one, lists are dynamic. You can dynamically resize lists. And when a list is dynamically resized, it's resized by about 50%. Okay. It also has lots of collection methods. And of course, if type safety and generics are important, then lists are better. And you want more flexibility. So in industry, in the real world, you're probably going to be using lists most of the time. Next, we're going to go to our IDE and see how we can use these arrays and lists. All right. Now that we're in Eclipse, let's talk about arrays and array lists. Both of these are reference types. Both of these are zero indexed. However, arrays can hold both primitive and non-primitive values, the non-primitives being reference types. Array lists only hold primitives, no reference types. However, I mean, they can only hold reference types, no primitives. However, if you do want to hold an integer, you'd have to use the wrapper class. And array lists can be dynamically resized, unlike arrays. So let's look at arrays. So we'll look at arrays. So the first is create an array containing the names of your 5 best friends. I just substituted my friends with names of DC comic book characters from the Justice League. Well, most of them anyway. So now we're going to do the following. Display the number of friends in the array. Before we do that, just notice that there are 2 ways to create an array. You can create an array using the curly braces, or you can instantiate a new array using the new keyword. However, when you instantiate an array, you have to specify the number of elements. Because like I've already mentioned, Arrays are fixed in size. So let's get back to our exercise. So display the number of friends in the array. So we'll do a sysout, and then we'll use we'll use the length property, fr. So this is a property. So this returns the number of friends we have. So the answer is 5. Display each name in the array on a separate line. Okay. So we will do that. So I'm just gonna use a loop here. So for every friend within the array of friends, all right, let's print out our friends. Okay, so we got that right here. The next is you're no longer friends with the fifth person, replace their name with a new friend. So let's go above, and then so we'll do friends, and then since this is zero index, we're going to use 4. And then of course we're going to replace Lex Luthor. We know he's a villain, so let's replace him with somebody else like Aquaman, for example. They say he talks to fish. I say it communicates with marine life telepathically. Let's see what happens. So we're going to print out these friends, and Aquaman should show up this time. Okay, so now Aquaman has been replaced. Okay, let's sort the array. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the arrays sort. So we're going to sort the array. Okay, we'll sort the array, and then we'll display the first person in the array. So let's comment out this for loop for a second. So the first person is going to be index 0. Actually, I know what to do. Okay, let's get our head in the game. So we're going to print the first friend. Okay, so our first friend is actually Aquaman because we sorted this friend first. Okay, so let's comment this back in. But yeah, we sorted the friend first. Okay, and we'll do another sysout. Okay, so let's run this. So we sorted the friends. So we replaced Lex Luthor with Aquaman. We sort the friends. So it's going to be in alphabetical order. And the first one is Aquaman. So let's print the last person. So we do things dynamically around here. We could just use the index 4, but we'll do dot length -1. That way, even if you don't know the size of the array, you at least know that you can find the last index. So Wonder Woman is the last one. Okay, so you're no longer friends with the second person in the array. Remove their name by replacing it with null. So So the second person would be index 1. Okay. So let's print. And then you'll realize the second person is null. So second person is null. So that's how we manipulate elements in an array. And notice that the size is fixed, so we can't really delete the element, we can just replace it. So now we have a poker hand. Create an empty array of strings called poker hand with 5 elements. Now do the following with your array. So we're basically going to add 5 elements: Queen of Hearts, 3 of Spades, 3 of Diamonds, 9 of Hearts, 6 of Clubs. So we're going to have to do this by index. And I'm just going to write the boilerplate. We'll do this 5 times. Okay. Okay. The 3 of Diamonds, 9 of Hearts, 6 of Clubs, okay. And it might be nice to actually add indices to these. Okay. And now let's loop through this. So we'll just do for let's comment this out. Okay. Okay, so we'll print. So this is a for loop. I don't have this in brackets since this is one line. Okay. So now we have a poker hand, and we've successfully added these elements to the array. So that's all for arrays. You can't really do a whole lot with arrays in Java like you can in JavaScript. Now let's go to array lists because it looks like it'll be a little bit more fun. So, so the first thing is create an array list and call it shopping basket. We've already done that here. Now do the following with your array list. Add the following 5 items into your shopping basket. Okay, one by one. Okay. So milk, cereals, apples, oranges, bread. So since we got to do this one by one, there's an add method. Okay. So I know we're adding 5 things initially. So let's do this 5 times. So add allows you to add elements to an array. And these elements are added in order. So milk, cereals, apples, oranges, bread. Okay. Display the number of items in your basket in your shopping basket. So number of items. So to get the length of an array, you're going to use the length property. To get the length or the size of an array list, you're going to use the size method. Okay, so we have 5 items. We'll print this out. Number of items, 5. Display the 5th item in the shopping basket. So the 5th item. So in order to get the 5th item, you're going to get the 5th item at index 4. And the 5th item is bread. Okay. Remove bread from the shopping basket, then display the number of items in the shopping basket. So we're going to remove bread. So it's going to be shopping basket remove. So you can remove by index or by object. Okay. If you remove by object, if the object doesn't exist in the list, nothing will happen. If you remove by index, but the index is out of range, like you have 5 elements in the array and you use the index 5, which would be the 6th element or beyond, you'll get an out of bounds exception. So let's try this. Let's see what happens if we try this. We're just going to try this real quickly. So index out of bounds exception. Okay. So let's go back and remove bread. So we're removing the 5th item. Okay. Now display the number of items in the basket. So we're just going to reuse this line. So number of items. And let's differentiate this. After removing bread. Okay, 4. All right. Now let's remove the 3rd item from the shopping basket. Okay. So we'll remove the 3rd item. So it didn't give us the name, so we just know it's the 3rd item. So shopping basket, remove the 3rd item. So that's going to be the 2nd index. You always got to subtract 1 because it's 0 index. And then we're going to display the names of all items left in the basket. So we'll do a sysout. And then we'll just print shopping basket. Okay, so milk, cereals, and oranges. Now let's add the following 3 items into the basket. Okay. So we'll do shopping basket add. And then we'll do a little, I'm not going to add them individually, so arrays as list. And then we'll just do potatoes. So this arrays as list, it takes a sequence of elements and returns a list. And then it's going to have to be an add all so that you can add a collection. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is let's print the shopping basket again, see what we have. Okay. Now let's sort this again. So we're going to do the collections, collection sort. So this is what you use to sort a list. If you go above, we used arrays sort because we were sorting an array. A list is a collection, so you use collection sort. And then it asks us to display the first item and the last item. Okay, so we'll display the first item, which is shopping basket get 0, and then the last item. So we'll just concatenate this. So we'll get the last item. Okay. And then we'll have to use the index. So the last index size -1. So it should be milk and chicken. Actually, it'll be cereal. It won't be milk and chicken because this is before sorting. Okay. So I'll print this. Okay. So cereals, potatoes, first element, last element, cereals, potatoes. All right, good. So it looks like we're done with the first exercise of section 2. So let's comment all this out. Okay, salaries. So create an array list of type integer. So this integer, this is the wrapper class. So lists, they can't use primitives, but they can use wrapper classes. Now do the following with your array list. Add the following numbers into salaries. So we're going to do salaries, add all, raise to arrays as list. Add these numbers. Add a semicolon. Spell this correctly. Okay, so we've added the numbers. So without sorting, show the following information. High salary, low salary, number of people earning $42,000. So we'll do a sys out, and then highest salary. Salaries, and then there's a max. There's a max method, but it's not on salaries. It's on the collections. Okay, so let's print that. So the highest should be 7,500. So high salary, 7,500. So let's do the lowest salary. Okay, that didn't help any. Lowest salary, so that's going to be collections min. So these are your various collections methods that you're using. 2,500. Now the number of people earning 4,200. So it's going to be collections frequency. So it's going to be collections frequency. So it takes in a collection and an object. So returns the number of elements in the specified collection equal to the specified object. So let's use this method. Salaries, okay. And then we want to use the string 4,200. Actually, the integer 4,200. Okay, let's see what we get. Okay, so 4,200 appears twice, so that makes sense. Sort the salaries and display the median salary, the one in the middle. Okay, so we'll do a collection sort. Okay, let's print this collection. And then we'll get the one in the middle. So the median, that's the one in the middle. So it's going to be salaries, get. That's going to be the third index. Okay. So yeah, 4,200, that makes sense. It's right in the middle. Okay. So reverse the salaries and then display the first and last items. So we'll reverse the salaries. And let's print the salaries again just to confirm that we reversed them. And then we'll print the two numbers. So first and last. Okay. So we reversed it. So 7,500, 2,500, 7,500, 2,500. So we've successfully sorted the salaries and printed the first and last ones. And with this, we are done. Thank you and peace.